the hidden cost of tolerating ambiguity, and the fierce clarity that comes from knowing your irreplaceable worth. This became the emotional spine running through every section. You are sitting across from someone you have given your time to, your energy to, your silence to when you should have been screaming. And they look at you the way people look at things they are not sure they want to keep. Like you are a placeholder. Like you are a maybe. Like you are a door they are not sure they want to open or close. And here is the part that burns. You let it happen. Not because you are weak. Not because you are foolish. But because somewhere along the way, you confused patience with surrender. You confused being available with being valued. You are watching this right now because some part of you, the deepest, truest part of you, knows there is a difference between being chosen and being kept around, between being someone's priority and being someone's option. And that difference is not just about relationships. It is about how you see yourself when no one is watching. The life you want is not waiting for someone to hand it to you. It is waiting for you to decide you are worth it without needing permission. Here is the paradox that most people never confront. The more desperately you cling to being chosen, the more you telegraph to the world and to yourself that you are not sure you deserve to be chosen. You leak need. You broadcast uncertainty, and the world and the people in it reflect that uncertainty right back at you. But something shifts when a person, a real person, not a performance, begins to treat you not as a convenience but as a cornerstone. When they do this, when they show up with consistency, with intention, with the weight of someone who has decided, that is not just affection, that is recognition, that is confirmation of something you should have already known about yourself. So today, we are not talking about finding the right person, we are talking about becoming the kind of person whose presence commands that recognition. We are talking about the psychology of self-worth, the philosophy of knowing your value, and the daily practice of never again shrinking to fit into a space that was never built for you. Are you ready? Let us begin. Let me give you the science, because this is not about feeling good. This is about understanding exactly what happens inside a human being, inside your brain, inside your nervous system, when you operate from a place of deep, unshakable self-worth versus when you operate from a place of fear and need. The difference is neurological. It is structural. It is real. Your brain is not a fixed machine. Neuroscientists have confirmed for decades now that the brain rewires itself, literally reshapes its architecture, based on repeated thought patterns and behaviors. Every time you tolerate being treated as less than you are, you carve a neural groove that tells your subconscious, this is what I deserve. Every time you hold your standard, you carve a different groove. I am someone who does not accept less. This is not metaphor. This is measurable neurological change. Your self-worth is not a feeling. It is a set of deeply grooved patterns that you either reinforce or rewrite every single day. Psychologist Carl Rogers identified the gap between the ideal self, who you believe you should be, and the real self, who you currently believe you are, as the single greatest source of psychological suffering. When someone treats you as an option and you accept it, you are not just experiencing a moment of discomfort. You are widening that gap. You are telling your real self, you are not yet worthy of the ideal life. The work then is not about changing other people. It is about collapsing that gap, about building a real self so congruent with your values and worth that the people who see you as an option simply stop appearing in your life. James Clear's research into habit formation revealed something that rewrites the standard productivity conversation. The most durable changes in behavior come not from chasing outcomes, but from adopting identities. The person who says, I am trying to be more confident, will fail in moments of pressure. The person who says, I am someone who does not shrink, will succeed, because their action is an expression of who they are, not a willpower battle. Every time they hold their standard, they are casting a vote for that identity. Every vote accumulates, and one day, the identity is simply true, not performed, not forced, just true. Now apply that to how you show up in every relationship, professional, personal, romantic, social. When you allow yourself to be treated as an option, you are not just feeling bad in the moment. You are rehearsing our identity. You are practicing being optional, and brains are brutally efficient. They get very, very good at whatever you practice. Attachment research, pioneered by John Bowlby and expanded by Stan Tatkin, reveals that people with secure attachment, those who genuinely believe they are lovable and worthy of care, do not chase. They do not perform. They do not negotiate their value. They attract with ease, hold boundaries with calm, and disengage without devastation when something is not right. Secure attachment is not a personality type you are born with. It is a stance you build through deliberate repetition of self-affirming thought and behavior. It is, in the true sense, a skill. Here is what all of this science converges on: the people who are never treated as options are not luckier than you. They are not more attractive. They are not more gifted. They have simply internalized, at the bone level, that they are non-negotiable, and the world can feel that. People can feel it. It radiates. It commands. It attracts the right things and repels the wrong ones, not through game, playing, but through genuine presence. You are not trying to win someone over. You are simply being someone impossible to dismiss. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the most powerful empire on earth, philosopher in the deepest tradition of Stoic thought, wrote in his private journals, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wrote this not as a declaration of victory, but as a daily reminder to himself. Even the man who ruled Rome had to remind himself every single morning that his power began within. What does that say about us? Because here is the uncomfortable truth about choosing to remain an option in someone else's life. It is not a passive experience. It is not something that happens to you. It is something you architect, brick by brick, through every moment you fail to assert your worth, every unanswered message you chase, every boundary you swallow, every moment you reshape yourself to fit the geometry of someone else's uncertainty. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl survived the Holocaust. He lost nearly everything. And from the depths of that unimaginable suffering, he drew a conclusion that has rattled through psychology, philosophy, and human development ever since, that no external condition can strip a person of their internal freedom. That the last of all human freedoms is the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. So let me ask you directly, what attitude are you choosing right now? In this situation, in the relationship that made you click on this video, are you choosing the attitude of someone who knows their worth? Or are you choosing the slow, corrosive attitude of someone who is waiting for external confirmation to begin believing they are worthy? Because here is the cost of waiting that nobody talks about. It is not the time. It is not even the heartbreak. The real cost, the devastating, irreversible cost, is the version of yourself you do not become while you are waiting. The projects you do not start because you are emotionally depleted. The growth you do not pursue because your identity is tied up in whether this one person decides you are worth choosing. The years of your life, your one, irreplaceable, non-refundable life, spent at half volume because you were trying to turn down your intensity so someone else would find you more manageable. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." But most people invert this. They exhaust themselves trying to control what is in someone else's power. Another person's feelings, another person's decision, another person's capacity to recognize value, while completely abandoning what is entirely in their own power: their mindset, their standards, their sense of self. The regret of the unlived life is not dramatic. It does not arrive like a thunderclap. It arrives as a quiet Tuesday morning when you look in the mirror and realize you became very, very small, and you cannot remember exactly when it started happening. That ends today. Now we build. Because knowing is not enough. The gap between knowing you are valuable and actually living like you are valuable is where most people live permanently. It is a comfortable, terrible space, just informed enough to feel frustrated, just uncommitted enough to never change. We are not living there anymore. Here are the 6 disciplines of a person who is never anyone's option. The first 20 minutes of your day are neurologically sacred. Your brain is in a semi-hypnotic, highly suggestible state upon waking. What you feed it in those minutes becomes the lens through which you see the entire day. The person who lies in bed rehearsing anxiety is priming their nervous system for threat detection. Instead, rise, breathe, and consciously name 3 things that are true about your value. Not compliments you hope to receive, but qualities you have demonstrated, courage you have shown, integrity you have maintained. Do this before you check a single notification. The world can wait 20 minutes. Your mind cannot. In concrete and specific language, what you will not accept. Not what you hope for, what you will not accept. Most people set goals outward. I want this, I want that. The person who cannot be treated as an option sets standards inward. I will not tolerate this in my presence. I will not give my energy to this. I will not remain in rooms where I am not equally respected. Standards are not arrogance. Standards are self-architecture. They are how you design your life from the inside out. Every time you have been treated as optional, it has not been a verdict on your worth. It has been data. Someone showed you their capacity, and their capacity was insufficient. The athlete does not weep when the race reveals their training gaps. They return to training. You do not crumble when a person reveals they cannot see your value. You return to the work of becoming more you, not less. Failure is not the opposite of worthiness. Quitting the standard is. Your emotional energy is a finite resource. Every hour you spend in the mental loop of, why don't they choose me, is an hour stolen from the work that makes you unchosen, a ridiculous concept. Block the time, protect the hours, build the project, the body, the skill, the vision that makes your worth undeniable. Not to impress others, but because becoming your fullest self is the most sacred work you will ever do. A focused life is an attractive life, not because it is performed, but because it is alive. The moment you feel the pull to chase, to over-explain, to perform, pause. That pull is not love. That pull is fear dressed in love's clothing. When you feel it, breathe slowly for 4 counts, hold for 4, release for 4. This is box breathing, used by Navy SEALs before high-stakes decisions. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system and returns you to choice. From that calmed place, ask, what would the version of me who does not need external validation do right now? Then do that. Exactly that. Your self-concept is the story you are telling about who you are, and it determines every single outcome in your life. Begin auditing it. Every day ask, what story am I telling about myself? Is it the story of someone who waits to be chosen, or the story of someone who simply is? Write the new story explicitly, in your own words, in a journal. Speak it. Live it in small moments. First, the conversation where you hold your opinion, the social situation where you do not shrink, the request you make directly instead of hinting. The self-concept solidifies through action, not affirmation alone. These are not personality traits you either have or you do not. They are chosen disciplines. They are practiced, repeated, refined. They are the architecture of someone who does not negotiate their worth, not because they are superior, but because they have decided, with full consciousness, to stop doing so. Jocko Willink, decorated Navy SEAL and leadership author, built his entire philosophy around 2 words: discipline equals freedom. At first, that sounds like a contradiction, but it is the deepest truth in the room. The person who disciplines themselves to maintain their standard, to hold their energy, to invest in their own becoming, that person is not imprisoned by their standards. They are liberated by them, because they are no longer available for anything that does not match who they are becoming. That is not coldness. That is clarity. And clarity is the most attractive thing in the world. Here we are, the end of the essay and the beginning of the decision. Because everything you just heard, every principle, every framework, every philosopher's hard-earned truth means absolutely nothing unless you make a decision in this moment. Not tomorrow, not when things get easier, not when you feel ready. Right now, this breath, this second, the decision is simple. You are done being someone's option, not because you are angry, not because you are desperate for revenge. because you have understood something today that you cannot unknow. Being treated as less than a priority is not something that happens to you. It is something you consent to, and consent can be withdrawn, starting now. Here is how you anchor this decision so it does not evaporate when the old pull comes back, and it will come back. Write this down right now, or say it aloud. I am someone who knows my value. I do not shrink to fit uncertainty. I attract what I deserve by becoming who I truly am. This is not a wish. This is a declaration of the person you are in the process of becoming. Read it every morning for 30 days without missing a single one. For the next 30 days, every single time you are tempted to compromise your standard, to accept less, to chase, to over-explain your worth, you pause, you breathe, and you ask, is this action building the version of me who is someone's priority or the version who is someone's option? Then choose accordingly. 30 days. One choice at a time. That is how identity is forged. Tell one person, one real person you trust, about this commitment, not for approval, for accountability. Declare it out loud in the world. The spoken commitment activates a different part of the brain than the private one. It makes the decision real. If someone does this, if they show up for you with consistency, with intention, with the weight of someone who has made a decision, it is not luck. It is recognition. They are recognizing what you have been building, what you have chosen to become. And if they do not, then they have shown you exactly where you need to invest your energy instead, not in them, but in the relentless, magnificent, irreplaceable project of becoming yourself. You were never just an option. You were always the answer. You are just now starting to believe it. If this reached you, if it lit something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment. I am not an option. Let me know that this landed. And if you want more of this, more depth, more fire, more truth, subscribe. Because this is only the beginning.